Will somebody give me a thumbs up and let me know that you can hear me? Thumbs up if everybody can hear me today. I'm getting ready to start. Just wanted to make sure that I'm not talking to myself today. Give me a thumbs up, or there's a live chat. So respond in chat. This is where the questions are going to come from. And so I just want to know that everybody can hear me. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Test, test, test. Can anybody hear me? So nobody can hear me? Alright, so please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to go ahead and start. Just going to go through some things. Looks like we got a few people watching, and please ask any questions that you have. Alright, so please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to go ahead and start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with and 3 question marks first, and then the question so that it can be prompted. Please let me know that you can hear me. We're going to start. Just going to go through some things. Use the chat people to ask your question with. Okay. All right, well, welcome to the first live stream with Indy HOA Watchdog. Today we're just going to talk about why we started this page, this channel, and what's been going on. And then if anybody has questions, please use the chat to ask your question, and I will do my best to answer it. And please let me know what you think about the setup here. I'll be switching screens and going through different things today. So please let me know how this looks on your side, and what you think I can do better next time. So I'm looking forward to talking to all of you, and let me know how this goes. So first of all, we got, if you're not familiar with our case, we were sued by our homeowners association in March of 15, and it was an instant lawsuit. There was they claimed that they sent one letter, and we didn't receive any letter, no follow-up, communications, a knock on the door, an email, a phone call, anything to let us know, hey, we sent this to you, did you get it? Just a lawsuit after that. So that was one of their violations, just right from the beginning. We didn't want to pursue it. We did the best we could to stop the entire thing from moving forward many times, and through discovery we found out that their attorney had pushed them for fees. So they wanted fees, or he wanted fees, and so they took his advice and continued with the lawsuit. And 5 years later, here we are. So this is about a parking violation, or claim of a parking violation. It was selective enforcement. There's all kinds of evidence on the record that showed that there were school buses, dump trucks, cars fully wrapped with the same, or with decals or whatever. None of my vehicles had any document or any decals or any kind of identification that it was, used for public use. Limousines can be used for private use, whatever. You can use it for private and public. There was no markings that suggested that it was a commercial vehicle at all. But that didn't matter. Nobody else got sued. Nobody else was told to move their vehicles out, but we were sued instead. So that's kind of how it went. We fought and fought and fought, and November 1st of 2016, we actually won the lawsuit, because it turns out that not a single one of them were ever elected. Not even one, and not ever. So they were all self-appointed. They stuck themselves on the board, called themselves the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and secretary, and then conducted business. They took over our bank account of the HOA, had complete control of our money, and was spending it to defend themselves. They lost the suit. So how was it that they were able to self-appoint, take control of our bank account, spend the money on a lawsuit that they had no right to even bring, and the courts allowed that to happen? There's so many, terrible pieces to this that it's hard to tell, who's worse, the lawyers, the management companies, the fake board members, or the courts, or the Attorney General's office. Currently, our case is in front of the Indiana Supreme Court, and we're waiting for them to review that and give us a ruling. This is kind of the make or break, and we're hoping for a positive outcome. Our civil rights have been violated many, many times and continue to be violated at this time. We're not going to rehash the entire lawsuit today. I wanted to use this as an opportunity to answer any questions. I'm going to go through some different pieces and show you some of the pieces of evidence that make this so compelling and so overwhelming of guilt by them. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to switch over here to some web pages. Okay. So this is our Indiana HOA Watchdog webpage. There's all kinds of information here. Well, the things that I'd like you to look at are some videos. We have different videos of Stephen Bushman, the Attorney General's office, more of the Attorney General's office, the General Assembly with different representatives, including Woody Burton and some other, players that are here to create trouble for everybody. And I want you to watch these videos if you think that it's important. These are the kinds of things that you should be doing with your own suits. Go to your state government, find the area of their website where legislation happens. If they videotape their sessions, it's important to watch those. We found out about Stephen Bushman changing HB 1074 through the videos where he popped up in the middle of them. You have to do a deep dive. These guys are very sneaky, and they'll do anything. But the evidence is out there that proves that the Attorney General's office was in front of the Indiana General Assembly lobbying on behalf of Stephen Bushman, which is also a lobbyist, where his law firm directly financially benefited from his lobbying efforts, which I believe is a federal crime. So take a look at the videos. These go so far back, and there's so much here that it would take me all day to explain it, but it's really a timeline, and that's what I tried to make it, as a timeline of the events. The different things that we went through. Here is a video of the November 17th meeting, which was 16 days after they were found guilty of not being a legitimate board, not being approved. All of a sudden, 17 days later, against multiple covenant requirements, had a fake election and then called themselves good, and then turned around and submitted that back to the courts, hoping that the courts would go, oh, okay, you finally did it, okay, you're good, so we're just going to let you have it. Well, that didn't happen. So they did more dirty tricks and changed the law, and then submitted that. Have a corrupt judge that allowed that to happen, and then we have a corrupt appeals court that doubled down on stupidity and allowed that to happen also. So take a look at these. If you want to see the timeline, start at the end and then go to the beginning. There's lots of photos of the evidence. So you'll find all kinds of Supreme Court documents. You'll see bylaws, all kinds of proof that they violated the governing documents, fake signatures, no signatures, fraudulent signatures of people that that aren't even board members. It goes on and on and on. Cecilia Coble doing a quid pro quo with the president or the fake president to get grant money from Fishers for her vote. Went to her house and asked the fake president and her husband, hey, I need your vote. And she asked for money for trees, and they got the money. We don't know if any of that money was pilfered or not, because they won't turn over all the different statements that we want, not just statements, but we want proof of checks, who signed them, who paid them, and where'd the money go. We want to know if they embezzled any money. Right here is a picture of evidence that the HOA supposedly paid this money, some kind of a screenshot of some kind of an entry of some kind of billing software. No receipts, which is the requirement by the city in order to get the money. They had to produce receipts. They didn't produce receipts. They produced a screenshot of an entry in a billing system, which is absolutely pathetic, which shows you that Cecilia, because Cecilia was the one that got to determine who got the money. So she goes in there, asks for a vote. She gets the vote. She gives them the money. And this is what they submit as evidence and proof of the payments. So there's all kinds of pieces of stuff like this. If you read the rules of the grants, you'll see that they violated the rules of the grants. Pictures of, steel, shards of steel sticking out of the ground in our community park. They have money to spend, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, $60,000, $80,000 on a lawsuit, but for some reason they can't seem to figure out how to get these shards of steel out of the park that were used to hold up trees, and then the lawnmower people drove over them and turned them into weapons of war, and they're all over the place. Finally, I had to expose that to get them to do anything about it. We have a second website here, and this is our Pleasant View HOA, Pleasant View Homeowners Association's lawsuit website, and there's all kinds of videos and pictures here. Here's a video of the General Assembly here in 2017, March. For I believe this one was HB 1074. This is Carly Baser right here. Got the Attorney General's office coming up. Stephen Bushman's going to show up, and just kind of pop in over here and show you some of this stuff. There's Stephen Bushman, Carly Baser, and he's talking about it. So we had multiple politicians promoting the law change in order to take away the rights of homeowners, and this is just one small piece of evidence of that. This is our Pleasant View HOA lawsuit website. Again, here we have different information. There's other evidence here, and different stuff of Stephen Bushman. There's the Attorney General right there sitting next to Stephen Bushman, voting our rights away. He's actually lobbying at that point against the citizens of Indiana, which is unbelievable when you understand his position as the Attorney General's office. And Curtis Hill was complacent in doing anything about it. A lot of people say, "Oh, he didn't have anything to do with it." Well, he was the Attorney General at the time. He had a duty to make sure that his office was not removing civil rights of the citizens, and he did nothing. He was too busy grab-assing, women at Christmas parties, I guess. As you may or may not know, our lawsuit has made it to the Supreme Court. It's been in the system for 5 years now. And just search our name. You'll see we're everywhere. Everywhere. We have now set precedents in Indiana state law, and we may end up setting, federal law here in the Supreme Court if we have to. It's outrageous that it's gotten this far, and there's this many people in the system that are corrupt. It's hard to believe that the appeals court thinks that it's okay to put a permanent injunction retroactively against your civil rights, and no ex post facto law. Remember that, okay? But you can find our name all over the place. Do a search for Craig Severance or Catherine Severance, Indiana Law. You'll find it. It's all over the place. In Indiana, there's a Victoria Sparks. Don't know much about her yet. She claims to be a conservative Republican, and I hope to engage with her more and see whether or not she's interested in there's a Victoria Sparks. Don't know much about her yet. Helping Hoosiers fight against the corruption in our state. And I'm hopeful that she'll, be able to help us. But I just wanted to bring her name out there and let you know it's the only one that I know of that claims to be a conservative Republican. I wanted to show you something that I think is extremely interesting. So Jeffrey Bellamy, he is the subordinate to this guy, Stephen Bushman. He's the one that lobbied to change HB 1074 in violation of our civil rights. He's been in practice for 45 years, 40 years in private practice. And I'm going to show you why that's relevant. Jeffrey Bellamy, which is this guy right here, about 15 years. Right there. That's Jethro Bodine. He's the one that has gone out of his way to hurt us on his own outside of the HOA, and we have information about that and his inability to do his homework. I'm going to show you that. So think about this for a second. Mr. Bellamy has been in practice for about 15 years.
Thank you, Dan.
And
thank you, Senator Young.
If you look over here,
move on to House Bill
there's over 1,000 cases.
Senator Buck from
1,000
the great city
cases.
of Kokomo.
And what's worse than that is that because of me, exposing what they used to do. They used to show all the results. If I did a search for Bellamy, it would show all of his cases. At the time that I did the last search where it showed up as like 2,300, something like that. And they changed it to 1,000, as if 1,000 cases is better. But in 15 years, he's had over 25. It's probably pushing 3,000 cases by now. It's probably closer to 3,000 than it is to 2,000 at this point. And but we have to keep digging and digging and digging. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I'm going to scroll through here, and I want you to see how many cases he has and how often he files cases. So this is May 17th. His last one was for April 21st. There's 1, 2 on April. Let's see how many filed in March.
Committee members.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Thank you very much.
6,
Steve, would you like to
7,
come say a
8,
few
9,
comments in support?
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 lawsuits in March. One guy.
I'm also a volunteer member of the legislative committee.
This guy.
The community
17
association
lawsuits in March.
We
You must have been on vacation in, Belize or something, and that's why he only filed 2 in April. I can't imagine why he would, give up such a record in April when he was, destroying everybody's life in March. So let's see what he did in February.
The Nonprofit Corporation Act.
Oh, there's one. There's May 5th. Okay, 3. Oh, so there's one more.
These documents are builders, and they put in a lot of times a 50% quorum for a 400, 500, 600 home neighborhood. You'll never get a quorum to show up, and so we've had people in cases try and claim the board is illegal because you didn't have a quorum to adopt them. This solves that problem and lets the association conduct its business if the homeowners decide things are going well and just don't want to show up. Appreciate it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Senator Landon.
20.
Senator Taylor.
I believe there was actually one on the first page. Yep, 21. 21 in February.
Senator Randolph.
You get my point. It's insane. It's insane. Now, why did I want you to know that? Because I want you to see how many
Senator Merritt.
lawsuits
Senator Sandlin.
was
Senator
filed by
Lansing.
Mr. Bushman
Senator Taylor.
in his illustrious career.
The bill passes 9-0. Thank you, Representative Mason.
Remember, 45 years versus 15. There you go. 289, according to this. There's no, maxed out at 1,000. 289 in 40 years, 45 years, whatever, versus 23, 25, 2,800 plus in 15 years. And you tell me there's not something wrong with that. Is that a business model, or is that practicing law, right? There should be something about that that needs to be investigated. There's something wrong there. And this is one person in one law firm, okay? And there's a whole bunch of players in different law firms that are involved in this. So even though he's probably the worst, he's not alone. Remember him. That's him right there. This is Randy Truitt. He is the owner of Main Street Management. He managed the company and created the bogus contracts between the HOA and the management company. And then he was also a legislator and helped change laws, used his influence to help change HB 1074 and created these violations, civil rights violations. So he's somebody you need to know about. If you live in Indiana, any of these people, if you ever see them, you probably should run. We have to expose them. We have to show who they are. People need to know who these people are. Yeah, and if things weren't bad enough, after they bled us to death financially, they turn over the carcass over to a new management company called Your HOA. And it didn't take long to find some glaring holes in what they're doing to us already. I'm going to sit on that because I know that they're watching, and we're going to expose that as well. But Your HOA, here's Timothy Plunkett. He had some type of a lawn business or lawn care. So we're going to see who ends up with the contract to take care of the community. And he also owns a bookkeeping company called PTX, and he claims that PTX won't be doing the books. So I shouldn't be seeing any payments to PTX out of our bank account that they own. Okay, so they own. So lots of problems. So there's Timothy Plunkett. And on the two groups, I took some pictures of the court systems, history of these people, of him and Nicole, and you can see that the people that get to tell you whether or not you can have a flag in your yard can't even manage their own finances, can't manage their own properties, but they can tell other people how to manage theirs. The hypocrisy has no bounds. It's unbelievable. And I want to thank HOA Tyranny Group for a place where everybody can get together and talk. It's a great space. There's people that have very good stories. It's given me an opportunity to help other people, and we need to keep using it. People need, if we can find ways to expand it to help more people, then we should probably do that. And there's one other group that I want to give a shout out to, and that is HOA Reform. HOA Reform is another place where we share information and we talk about what's going on and help each other through these situations, and hopefully that we can, do something together. So that's about the end of that stuff. I'm going to switch back here, and we're going to just talk about a few other things real quick. If anybody here would like to create their own live stream event with me and set up like a interview session, I would love to do that. I'll just show you what it will look like. So here we would have an environment similar to this. This isn't the final version. This is just something so I could get your head wrapped around it. But we'll do something like this where I'll be on one side, just your traditional news interview. We'll ask questions to each other, talk, and you can post this wherever you want. It'll obviously be on our website, but I want you to see that there is this, opportunity to get your story out there, and we can, set up in advance whatever questions and make a real news interview out of it, so that other people, can experience your story as well in an open setting. So. Don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. This is the first experience. We'll do more push on this longer, take more time to market it so that you all know that it's going to happen. This was kind of a short notice. I didn't expect too much participation because of that. But let me know if there's anything we can do to make it better. And I appreciate you coming today, and look forward to our next live stream. Until then, you guys have a wonderful day.